Hello, everyone. I'm Melanie.
And I'm Val.
And before we begin this episode, we wanted to give you a proper introduction. Val and I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and have
Whoop
been
whoop.
watching creepy things from an early age.
Yes,
Countdown
sweet.
City? It hasn't been something we shied away from. I mean, Val literally has true crime and guts blasting into her ears whenever possible.
It's true, and it's always on headphones because I have children. With that being said, we just want to thank you for being here with us and hope you'll stick around as we learn with each episode that we create. All of you make up a big part of why we're doing this, so please send your true crime stories or your own ghost stories and share them with us at terrorisamood@gmail.com so we can eventually share them on a listener's episode. Also, this is a true crime and horror podcast, so sometimes there will be some scary murders of children, of people, sometimes animals. If that's not really your style and you can't hack it, please, we're probably not the podcast for you. Don't listen. But if you are intrigued by all of this, buckle up. Here's our first
Yeah,
episode.
let's set the mood.
Hello, and welcome, friends and mortal enemies. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to Terror is a Mood podcast, a sibling account of true crime and paranormal activity. Kick back and let's set the mood with your hosts, Valerie and Melanie.
Hey, Val.
Hey Mel, how's it going?
I'm pretty nervous. This is the first episode.
I know it's the first one. We're like virgins.
We've
Wait,
got
does it count
a
if we
big
did
episode.
the trailer? We did the trailer already, so are we still virgins?
No, this is seriously new because this is a story. We are telling you a huge movie that really shaped our childhood.
For real. I mean, I saw it. I saw it. How old were you when you first saw it?
Oh, I was in elementary. I had my SpongeBob CD player. So
you were like
maybe
10.
11, 10. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I probably saw it before that, but when I saw it like full view, I was 12 and I slept between my parents for 3 months, and I'm pretty sure I'm the reason they divorced. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, sisters.
For me,
Oh,
it was...
hold on. I'm Valerie. You said that I know we said hi to each other, but we should introduce ourselves. So, hi everyone. This is Val's voice.
Oh yeah, we sound a lot alike.
No, we don't.
Well, I'm Melanie. Hi. I think we do. I think we're twins of different shades.
Bro, you wish. I'm sorry, Mel. I wish.
No, you're good. You're good. So if you haven't guessed it, I grew up in the 90s. Val, you're a late 80s baby.
Bro, I grew up in the 90s. You grew up in the 2000s.
No, I did not. I was
born in 87, so I grew up in the 90s.
I'm a 90s baby. I'm going to claim that if I was born in 93. I'm sorry.
All right.
Anyway, the movie, the episode, all of this is surrounding.
Anyone? Any guesses? Any guesses?
Dun, dun, dun. The Exorcist.
Oh.
The movie that Valerie and our oldest sister, Tiffany, they don't remember this as badly as I remember this. I think it's because they've always wanted to torture me and have done that throughout my whole life in some way or form. But in this way, it was the worst. They put on The Exorcist in our tiny living room bedroom at the time.
We'll talk about that later.
Forced me to watch it.
Okay, we lovingly encouraged you to grow a pair and to watch it with us, and it was
while I was screaming
awesome
about how her voice. Oh my gosh, her voice.
Yeah,
I can still hear that. That tortured me well into. I remember I felt proud of myself at like 18 because I watched The Exorcist in the middle of the day and I wasn't scared by myself.
Yeah,
and that's how long it took me to overcome that traumatic experience.
Look, it's a rite of passage in our family. All of us, we watched it. We were traumatized by some family member with that movie in one way or another. I was talking to Mom about this, Mel, and how I distinctly remember having like sleepover parties. Grandma, mind you, it was on like TNT, so it was not explicit and, kind, and commercial cuts and stuff. But I distinctly remember watching this in elementary school, and Mom was like, no, I'd never do that. So, yay trauma.
Yay trauma.
Anyway, let's get on with the story. We wanted to keep our banter to 5 minutes every episode because as a true crime
Aficionado.
addict, I hate listening to podcasts that talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So
Yeah.
let's get started, Mel. You go
Let's
first.
go. Alrighty, guys. So I'm actually covering the house and the experience, the tall tale of what the movie The Exorcist was based on. I love movies that have been based on books. A big thing for me are horror novels, especially. And I've read The Exorcist, all 3 of them. If you have not, they're really fantastic. And Legion, I'll go into it later. Anyhow, I am covering the story that William Peter Blatty heard while at university, at St. Louis University. He heard the story. We're going to attach the article that he originally read that was published in 1949 that stirred the interest, that made everything happen, that led William Friedkin to make the highest grossing Warner Bros. Film of their time. The story begins on May 9th, 1949. A boy named Robbie Doe and his family started reporting that they heard noises in the floor and walls of their home. Scratchy noises. Eventually, the family stopped hearing any noises at all, and Robbie was the only one that could hear them. Squeaking shoes were another sound that he was growing really familiar with hearing on his own that would circle his bed at night. Yeah, no thank you. So everyone we're going to refer to throughout the story, Robbie Doe is the name that everyone involved gave this boy to protect his family and, his privacy after these events took place. There are articles that you can read that have the actual name and his whole family's, how they cracked down the case for this, that I'll attach in the show notes later on. Alrighty. So the boy's aunt had recently passed, and the family suspected that the presence in the house may be their relative, and that maybe the fact that the aunt taught Robbie how to use the Ouija board, maybe that was something that could have stirred what was going on in the house, these new events. So March 9th is the first day Father Bishop met with his family in the St. Louis home at 8045 Roanoke Drive. He found the boy lying perfectly still on a bed that was shaking violently. Now, in all of the accounts that I found of this diary, it's written just that way. I think that was what spurred the infamous scene of the bed shaking in The Exorcist. He's just laying still. That's insane to hear. This diary was written in the third person throughout the entire experience by Father Bishop himself. Sure. He writes, Bishop sprinkled St. Ignatius holy water on the bed in the form of a cross. The movement ceased quite abruptly. During the course of 15 minutes of activity, a sharp pain seemed to have struck Robbie on his stomach, and he cried out. The mother quickly pulled back the bed covers and lifted the boy's pajama top enough to show zigzag scratches in bold red lines. The haunting began January 15th, 1949. And those were the noises, the knocking, the squeaking shoes, and ended officially on April 19th when Bo Dern is said to have cast the evil out. I'm going to go over a little bit of an account of that and a little bit of the crazy movie folklore that we've all come to know. So Friday, March 11th, Bishop returned with Father Bodern, the pastor of St. Francis Xavier College Church. The boy was dozing when the bottle of St. Ignatius holy water was thrown from a table 2 feet away from Robbie's bed into a nearby corner, a distance of approximately 6 feet.
Shit. Sorry.
Yeah. No, thank you. 5 minutes later, a bookcase was moved from alongside the bed and turned completely around, facing the entrance of the room.
What in the poltergeist is going on here?
Right? Hello? Did that just happen? On Wednesday, March 16th, the priests got approval from St. Louis Archbishop Joseph E. Ritter to administer the rites of exorcism according to the Roman ritual. That night, the diary reports that Father Bo Dern in soupless and stole, which is pretty much what you wear to an exorcism, began the prayers of exorcism.
Soupless? Like you can't take soup with you?
Yeah. No, it's not soupless. I had to Google that myself. So the soupless is when you imagine, I guess, the movie Father Marin, that kind of white uniform he's wearing over his priest. Yeah.
What do they call them?
His priest garb.
I have a friend who's a pastor. Oh gosh, what does she call them? Anyway, we'll ask later.
We'll continue. On the first Precipio, there was immediate action. I forgot to Google what that was, but I'm assuming it was the first right.
Yeah, hold on. I'll make sure.
Of the exorcism.
Yeah. Definition. We can give it a Google real quick. It is to anticipate, instruct, advise, warn. So I guess when it was telling him, like, get the hell out of this kid, the first Precipio. Yeah, okay, got it. I'm going to use that. Don't make me Precipio your ass to my kids. That won't work.
Tell him.
This is your first Precipio.
3 large...
Go on. Sorry.
3 large parallel... No, it's okay. I don't want you to think that my nephews are demon spawn. They're not, but I thought that was funny because it's the exorcism, right?
Sometimes, Mel.
You're going to cast the evil out? I don't know. I'm not there enough. Okay. Alrighty. So 3 large parallel bars were scratched on the boy's stomach after the first Precipio. From then on, at the name of our Lord and his Blessed Mother and Saint Michael, scratches appeared on the boy's legs, thighs, stomach. He's completely covered, guys. Back, chest, face, and throat.
Dang.
Pictures of the devil on Robbie's right leg.
Why? How
and
do they
the word
know what the devil looks
hell
like? Are there pictures? I have to see
imprinted
this.
on Robbie's chest.
Probably not.
They have a diary. I have not found proof of pictures. So, let's see. Obviously, after that, things grew a lot worse and continued for another week. Each day, Robbie's reactions grew more and more extreme. So, a week later, on Friday, March 18th, the prayers of the exorcism were continued, and Robbie was seizing violently so that he began to struggle with his pillow and the bed clothing. The arms, legs, and head of Robbie had to be held by 3 men. The contortions revealed physical strength beyond the natural power. Robbie spit at the faces of those who held him and at those who prayed over him. He spit at the relics and at the priest's hands. He writhed under the sprinkling of holy water. He fought and screamed in a diabolical, high-pitched tone. That was the account of Father Bishop. So, Sunday, March 20th, the diary continues. Bishop reports that the boy reacted with more violence than on any previous occasion. I thought this was really funny, and I guess it's more violent because these are the things that happened. The high point of the evening were urinations, which really burned Robbie, breaking wind through rectum 3 different times, and cursing the exorcists. He farted 3 times. And he peed on himself. And
Bro, I know those farts.
The way they wrote it.
I know those farts. I've had those farts where I'm like, oh, Lord, help me. It's horrible.
But the urinations, which really burned, I was like, did they burn his skin? Did they burn to come out?
Oh, it could have been a UTI. Bro had a UTI, which feels like an exorcism. Or like
he was so unhealthy after 2 weeks of seriously. I know those. That can get real bad.
It can get real bad. Oh, okay. Sorry, we're not joking. Poor guy.
Poor guy, breaking wind and peeing so much it hurts real bad. So some of the vulgarity follows. Have we, so earmuffs if you have kids. Haven't cursed yet, but I'm gonna right now. 3, 2, 1. Go to hell, you dirty sons of bitches, you dirty assholes. That was Sunday night. Monday, March 21st. The family has gotten very little sleep, obviously, with everything going on, so that this is when he gets officially admitted to the Alexian Brothers Hospital and exorcisms start taking place there. They go to the College Church Rectory at St. Louis University, and they go back home to Roanoke Drive in St. Louis. They actually, at one point, believed that he was doing better, that he was allowed to go all the way back home to Cottage City, Maryland, where he was actually from.
Yeah.
Let's see, Monday, April 18th. This is the high point of the exorcism. Things were going well until the day after Easter. Robbie was experiencing seizures and violent episodes. The priest had placed medals, rosaries, relics around his neck.
Around his neck.
It's
like he had more than one neck.
Bro, he hadn't grown a neck yet. I'm so sorry. Just the one. He was covered in relics. In his hand, they placed a crucifix. Robbie mocked the priest all the while, saying things like, he has to say one more word, one little word. I mean, one big word. He'll never say it. I am always in him. I may not have much power always, but I am in him. He will never say that word.
What is the word?
I thought that was a really interesting way for a demon to speak.
It's though I don't like it.
Personally.
It's like Rumpelstiltskin. He'll never guess my name. Sorry.
Almost like like a riddler. I could see that. Yeah. That was good. That was a good impression. With one final push, the priests were able to exorcise the demon. That's how it was written in the diary.
Nice.
At 10:45 p.m., the boy lay still. In clear, commanding tones, he shouted, "Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan, and the other evil spirits to leave the body in the name of Dominius.
Oh, wow.
Immediately. Now, now, now!" Several minutes later, the boy awoke to announce, "He's gone."
You sounded super possessed right now.
And
It was real scary. Like, it looked like your voice was on auto-tune, and it terrified me.
I was... They said a high-pitched tone.
Good. That's scary.
That's what I thought was really interesting about his demonic voice. Let's see. The diary report continues to say that the boy saw a vision of the devil and the 10 of his helpers engaged in a fiery battle with Saint Michael in that moment. At one point during that dream, the angel smiled at the boy and said, "Dominius," Latin for Lord, which I learned today. The word the boy vowed he would never say. And that
Dominius.
Was kind of what seemed to really, to release him.
Nice. Hell yeah. I always say, Jesus,
a little
you're
bit
welcome
about
here. Please. No demons.
A little bit about the priest involved here. Father William Bodern carried out the majority of the exorcism rituals. He died in 1983 at the age of 85 and never talked about what he knew of the case. Father Raymond Bishop was the one that kept the exorcism diary. Father William Van Roo, you don't really hear a lot about him, but he was an attending priest, and he also stayed tight-lipped about the case. And Father Walter Halloran, the last surviving Jesuit priest that took part in the exorcisms. He died at 83, and at the time of the exorcism, Halloran was actually a Jesuit scholastic studying history at St. Louis University. He just so happened to be the driver for William Bodern, then the pastor at St. Francis Xavier College Church. St. Francis Xavier College Church. One evening, Bodern asked Halloran to drive him and another Jesuit to dinner at home in northwest St. Louis suburb. When they arrived, Bodern turned to Halloran and he calmly said, "I'll be doing an exorcism. I want you to hold the boy down in case it's needed."
Oh my gosh.
The boy broke free one evening during these events and ended up actually breaking his nose during the events. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm just your driver, but now I'm involved in an exorcism. Nope. Because I'm nice and fit, I guess.
Can you imagine an Uber driver being like, "What's up? Okay, I guess I'll go." It's going to cost you like special rates or whatever. What is it? What do they call it?
They'll be like the modern day Ghostbusters.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So the family and Robbie went on to visit the Alexian brothers in 1959 when the boy was 16. The family had converted to Catholicism shortly after the exorcism, and the priest described Robbie as a fine young man. Oh, shoot. I forgot to put in all of my links, but I would like to say thank you to Wikipedia, St. Louis University, Riverfront Times, and Fancy Pants Homes for all of their super helpful articles that helped me write this info out. I have a little bit of movie lore. Val, are you ready?
Hell yeah. Send me some cursed stuff. I want to hear it. Let's go.
Okay, well, first off, there were at least 9 people who passed before, during, and after, during the release and even after filming Wrapped on The Exorcist. According to Reagan's mother, Ellen Bernstein, 9 people died. This includes cast and crew members or close relatives of cast and crew. So actor Jack McGowan, who played Burke Dennings in the movie and actually died in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Died
the
shortly
director,
after.
Right?
I read one article that said it was a heart attack caused by complications from the London flu epidemic, and another that said the London flu epidemic complications.
Okay.
Yeah, but the actor. And then actor Vasiliki Malia Rose, who played Demi's mother. Val, you know who this is.
Don't do this to me.
Oh,
don't do this to me, Demi. Yes.
I want to take off my headphones. My family, throughout
I'm
my
so
lifetime,
sorry. It's so scary.
Would tell me that they would say,
"Listen,
Mel, do it, Val, say it."
Mel, don't do this to me, Mel.
Why?
Dude.
Okay,
we said lots of scarier. We did lots of scarier things.
Me with this.
Okay, in our family's defense, we quote everything all the time.
This is true.
You'll see how annoying it is as you continue to listen. But yeah, that's one of the things. that we do a lot. And that was a good one. I just loved her little accent.
She was adorable and scary. She passed from natural complications, thank goodness, at 89.
She looked older.
Yeah, she was. That wasn't makeup.
Yeah.
Linda Blair's grandfather passed away during filming. An actor, Max von Sydow, who played Father Lancaster Marin in the film, lost a brother while filming was going on. Unfortunately, a cameraman's newborn baby passed away.
Oh, man.
I mean, all of these are unfortunate. None of these are okay. I could not find out what happened. I found out also that a night watchman from the crew passed and a special effects technician passed away. I did not find out how they passed. They were just all related and tied to the film in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Actor Jason Miller's toddler son was struck by a motorbike. He almost died.
Oh, man. That's the hot young priest, right?
Yep.
Oh, my gosh.
I looked at his Wikipedia and his children. 2 of them are doing things now, and 2 of them have absolutely no information. So I did what I could there. Yeah. Cast members also sustained injuries during filming. There are 2 infamous scenes. Mm-hmm. The one where Regan is being thrown on her bed resulted in a lumbar back injury. And the scene where Regan is super possessed and throwing her mother around the room. That harness on actress Ellen Bernstein was pulled too harshly, and she sustained a back injury. It wasn't long-term as far as one article I found. One article also said it was long-term, and that the scream that you actually hear in the film, the final cut, is the take that caused the injury.
Yeah, I also heard, just because I've heard this before because I listen to everything, but I did hear that I guess the director had said, like, okay, Ellen, we're going to pull you on 3. And he definitely told the stunt guy who was controlling the harness to pull her before 3. So that was all like a genuine reaction. So that's also why she hurt herself.
I
she wasn't
more
expecting
on that.
It.
Yeah. William
so like he did it on 2.
Actually did quite a number of things. No, that I didn't put that one in there. I didn't know that one, but he did quite a few things to the actors on the film that were definitely questionable. Another thing he did was with the scene where Father Damien, there's a scene where it's a close-up and he looks shocked. Apparently, during that take, they pulled blanks near his head at action for that genuine look of surprise.
Oh my gosh! Like he just shot a blank.
Yeah, and the actor was super livid.
That's loud
and
as
was
hell.
Like, I'm an actor. I can look surprised.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, one of the articles I read talked about how working with William Friedkin may have also been a curse for the actors because it was pretty intense. But there was also creepy things going on the set. A pigeon actually happened to fly into the circuit box, which set off sparks that caught fire and ended up burning down every room of the McNeil's house, so Regan's house, except for Regan's bedroom, where all of the exorcisms were taking place.
Oh yeah, that's super creepy. It also
could have been, this is something else that William Friedkin did because he wanted the movie to be just as great as it was. Because the room that Regan's bedroom was set in was actually built inside of a refrigerator to keep the temperature as cold as possible. So all of that cold air that you see, their breath, is because they're all genuinely cold. Like that temperature,
Yeah, it wasn't like it wasn't special effects. Yeah.
They were freezing because they were in a refrigerator, and that could have been why that room didn't burn down. Poor pigeon.
Jeez.
For real, though. Flying into a circuit box, just trying to fly around.
Pigeon. Sorry, pigeons. Pigeons are great.
So there were also reports of floating objects by the cast. During production, several crew and cast members claimed to have witnessed props and other objects moving by themselves. Most significantly, the telephone that the crew used to communicate on set would rise and fall a few times. Like, people saw that happen. Yeah.
What?
Director William Friedkin had to ask the Reverend Thomas Birmingham, who was the film's religious advisor, to perform a real exorcism on the set. The Reverend refused at first, but with everything going on after the set burned down, he decided to give the set a blessing. Yeah. Some other stuff that went on during the film's premiere that was pretty notorious was the fact that at the film's Rome premiere in 1974, a big storm was brought in. There was heavy rain, heavy winds that the audience claimed sounded like demonic cries. and lightning,
Ew.
right? Lightning ended up striking a 400-year-old church steeple that came crashing down to the ground that evening.
It was like across the street
I don't
or something,
know how
right?
close it was. Honestly, I tried to find an article that said, but I think I remember you telling me that it was that close. But it was
terrifying.
in Rome.
I don't know. Don't quote me. Dude, and that was their movie premiere there, right?
Yeah, the first evening.
Oh my gosh.
So I want to thank you to
tell me you shouldn't make a movie without telling me you shouldn't make a movie. You attack a 400-year-old church on the day of the premiere with a natural event. That is terrifying.
I want to send my thanks to Ranker.com for that info on all of the movie lore as well. But I think that wraps it up for me, Val. A little bit about the house.
Ooh, good job.
Thank you. There were different accounts from people that have lived there. An article from 2005 said that a long-term resident of the Belnor neighborhood told the writer that the boy is still alive, but doesn't talk about what went on there, obviously. And that rumor has it, he is a man now with a full family, got children, and he named his first son Michael after the archangel who saved him. That is just a rumor. That's somebody in the neighborhood of Belnor.
I'll take it.
Right?
I'm going to say it's real.
And that some people who have lived there said that you definitely, that room in the upper second floor, I think it's in the upper right corner, is like cold and drafty. And other people laugh it off. One guy found out about the house's history after he purchased the home and was like, the way I see it, it's been blessed so many times. It's the safest place here. Yeah. So yeah, and
it's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
He was happy about it. He didn't have anything go on, so it's up for sale now. The Exorcist house for $3 million. If you just got that laying around somewhere.
All right, Patreoners, that's going to be our first goal is to buy the Exorcist house. Help us.
Do it.
Love you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Well, dang. I mean. That movie is just...
I think it's insane that there's a diary out there of an exorcism. That is pretty neat.
How much do you think
how much I want to
believe
in it, because then that leads to believing in so many other things.
That's all I can tell you. Like, good is real and so is evil. And guard your
The
loins.
universe is too big. Yeah.
Guard your soul.
Yeah. We'll see. I believe in the universe.
What did I see? That was really damn cool.
Oh, I love What Dreams May Come. That's a beautiful movie about.
I haven't seen it. Is that the one with Robin Williams?
Oh, yeah. If you want a good cry, watch that movie.
Or listen to this story. Oh, do you like that segue?
I did like that. That was smooth.
Just kidding. It's not a good cry. It's interesting.
Let's listen.
So again, guys, I'm Val Thompson. I'll be usually presenting the true crime portion of our podcast. So to move on from Mel's amazing story, we're going to go into, the movie, The Exorcist, and how it was horrifying just as itself in the movie and with all the lore that came along with it and the story that it was based on. But, it was also a little criminal. Dr. Evil. Okay, so...
I see it.
I mean, when I say criminal, I just mean that there were, like, some really cool things that I hadn't heard about yet. But I'll start with something that, if you listen to True Crime a lot, I'm sure you've heard of at some point. But if you haven't, here's some cool news for you. One of the most popular stories associated with the Exorcist movie is that of Paul Bateson. You're right. You might remember this friendly, harmless-looking guy from the scene where Reagan's taken to the hospital so her mom could figure out, what the hell is wrong with her. So that's where the movie introduces Paul Bateson in his one and only scene playing, himself.
His actual job. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was he was a technician at that hospital.
So Friedkin, the producer, what do we call him?
He's the director. Yeah.
Director. Okay. So Friedkin was touring the hospital before deciding what medical procedures he wanted to use in the film, during Reagan's scene. And it was during one of these visits that he spotted the prowess of one Paul Bateson. Seriously, he was so impressed that he offered him a job right there on the spot to make the scene seem more realistic. So in that scene, Oh, yeah, he saw him doing his job, and he was like, that guy is smooth as hell. I'm going to get him in my movie. And he hired him.
First
And
sign of a serial killer, right?
Yeah, he's very kind. And I don't know the one thing he says. I think he's like, this might hurt. Or what does he say to her? I should Google that. He says like one thing, like very kind. Yeah, this might hurt a bit. And then her blood like spews out. That's her actual blood. He actually set her up with the line and everything. Like, that's all real. So, yeah, it's Linda Blair's actual blood.
For that?
Not enough.
Spurting
out. I need $1 million for every drop. Anyhow, it's Linda Blair's actual blood spurting out in the scene, as he had actually set her up for the cerebral angiography, and that is probably mispronounced, but that test pretty much just takes x-rays of blood vessels in and around the brain. So they wanted to make sure like everything was flowing correctly. So
crazy.
Cool that the crime wasn't that, this guy got hired for this amazing movie right off the spot. No. Without any experience. The crime actually is related to him, though. So in 1977 and 1978, New York homosexuals were terrorized by a series of bag murders, that's what they call them, in which 6 male victims were mutilated and dismembered. Their remains wrapped in black plastic bags and dumped in the Hudson River. So that was happening at that time on September 14th, 1977. Film critic Addison Verrill, he was a reporter. He would write about films. Was beaten and stabbed to death in his New York apartment.
Oh my gosh! So it was a man. I knew it was a film critic. I didn't know it was a man.
Yeah, it was. They were all men that he was killing. Yeah. So apparently, according to Bateson, a 38-year-old X-ray technician, he confessed to meeting Verrill in a Greenwich. I always want to say Greenwich.
I think it's Greenwich Village.
Greenwich Village gay bar. After having sex at Verrill's flat, Bateson crushed his victim's skull with a metal skillet, afterwards stabbing Verrill in the heart. So, that's what he did. Yeah.
Oh, why are you so unhappy with your life?
I know. And so...
Why?
He was convicted of the homicide on March 5th, 1979. Thank you, Murderpedia, for all this wonderful info. And he was given 20 years to life in prison. So while he was in custody, Paul Bateson was bragging to like other inmates of killing other men for fun, dismembering their bodies and dropping the bagged remains in the Hudson River. So detectives assume he was part of this. Like they think he was a serial killer, and he was the one who was associated with all these murders. At the time in 77 and 78, but he was only actually convicted of the 1977 murder of Addison Verrill. So,
holy crap!
That's who Paul Bateson was.
So that's still an unsolved mystery right now. The bag murders.
The bag murders, like the other bodies and the dismembered bodies, they don't really know who did them, even though Paul Bateson was claiming at the time that he was the one who did it, and the MO was pretty much the same: gay people. Gay men at the time in that area. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't they pursue that?
I don't know. I guess they didn't have to because they had him convicted. So, I mean, they stopped once he was in prison. So I guess if they had continued, it would still be maybe not a cold case. But anyhow, that is what Bateson did. And that's what he was. That was a big, oh my gosh, with, the Exorcist
this happened.
Movie. There was a potential serial killer in the movie, Paul Bateson.
Definitely murderer.
Dread him. So that's a fairly popular story among like the true crime lovers. But there was more. I want to look up Mercedes McCambridge. Is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. McCambridge is just
McCambridge. If it's MAC.
McCambridge. Okay, so Mercedes McCambridge, she was a voice actor at the time. She was the voice of the demon possessing Reagan in the movie. And in order to get that like super demonic voice that haunted us, Melanie, for years and years and years, like still, if I never saw the movie again and just heard it, I'd be just as terrified. Woman. I'd be 12 again.
I can close my eyes. I see her perfectly.
Yeah. So apparently, in order to like get that amazing voice, she was chain smoking, swallowed raw eggs, and had herself tied to a chair to make the effective noises of trying to break free, just like Reagan did in the movie.
Yeah.
So I think I should try it. I think that'll be one of our first videos. I'm going to chain smoke, swallow raw eggs, and tie myself to a chair and see if I can repeat it. Because if that's all it takes, then I'm going to be a demon
as long
voice
as
actress.
I don't have to, I'm fine.
You got to help me.
Oh,
you got to be there.
She was drinking whiskey. I'll be the one drinking whiskey.
Oh, yeah. And apparently, yeah.
she broke her sobriety. Mm-hmm.
Just to do that. I was like, yeah, pay me and I'll totally break my sobriety too, except I'm not sober. Anyhow, I mean, from alcohol. Not that much. Anyhow, so even with all of that, all of the effort that she made and how terrifying, how successfully terrifying she was, Warner Brothers failed to give her screen credit when the movie came out, which is kind of criminal in my opinion. She eventually...
She made the movie.
Right? So she eventually sued Warner Brothers and Friedkin, and it was only after the Screen Actors Guild helped pressure Warner Brothers that Mercedes got the credit she had been promised. And I guess more drama associated with that is that Linda Blair was actually up for an Oscar. And after this whole criminal lawsuit with Mercedes not getting her credit, they think that she ruined Linda Blair's chances for the Oscar because apparently people thought before that she was making... the demon's voice, which I'm like, in what world?
Definitely, it invalidates the Oscar.
That's not fair. I think her
Exactly.
acting was incredible, and she still totally deserves one. I mean, she was saying some pretty crazy things for a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
But anyhow,
she was so sweet every other time. I loved her as Reagan.
And from what I read, her mom just took her in without an appointment, and a Friedkin had been going through all these castings with all these girls and was like, oh, none of this matters. But then she came in and was like,
just
your mother sucks cocks in hell, totally with a smile on her face. And he was just like, whoa, this beautiful, precious little 12-year-old is able to read these lines without stuttering. And he was like, I knew she was the one. And that's when he hired her.
Wow. That's really, I would be impressed.
I don't know if that was the exact line, but I mean, I was totally saying that when I was 12. So I'm not really that impressed.
Yeah, I could
Just
not.
kidding, Mom.
I still struggle cursing.
Okay. So cool. I mean, that was a little bit of criminal, but we're about to get into the nitty gritty because I had no idea that this story existed. And I was like, why aren't more people talking about this? Yes, it's not directly related to The Exorcist, but Mercedes McCambridge was a huge part of the movie. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is totally Exorcist related.
Yeah,
so
definitely. Let's hear it.
In 1987, something crazy happened. Well, two somethings. One incredible something is that I was born. and the second incredible something was this really horrible story I'm about to tell you. I was going to start off and reading what happened, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start from the beginning. So,
okay.
John Lawrence Markle was born early on Christmas Day in 1941 to his 23-year-old mother, Mercedes. That's Mercedes McCambridge, and her first husband, William Fifield. And I think John Lawrence was Fifield until they divorced. His parents divorced when he was 5. And so we'll get to there. But at that time, she won Best Supporting Actress for her screen debut in All the King's Men. And that movie also won Best Picture of 1949. I've never watched it. Have you ever watched it?
No, I have never heard of it, but she seemed like a badass. She was doing good.
She was. Yeah, she was 23.
Yeah,
then.
Young.
So she was
beautiful.
Killing it. She was, she's all right. I don't like her that much. You'll see. I'm not Team Mercedes.
I like her face. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
she's a butthurt. She's a butthurt soul.
Oh no.
So she's beautiful, but her soul sucks. Sorry, Mercedes. She's dead.
I don't know enough about her. Let's see.
All right, let's go. So she had that was in 1949. So she was actually 31 at the time, which is still incredibly impressive. By 1949, she had already divorced Fifield and was married to Fletcher Markle, a film and TV director who went on to adopt, her son, John. John went on to be a brilliant student, earning his Master of Economics degree from the University of California at Los Angeles in 1968. That year, he also married his wife, Christina Mull, that July. So it was just an amazing year for him. He got his master's. He earned his master's. He got married to a wonderful, beautiful woman. And then John began working for Solomon Brothers in Dallas in 1972 and earned his PhD in economics from UCLA in 1973. So this
Dang.
guy was super duper smart. So that year, when he earned his PhD in 1973 was also the same year that what happened? His mom voiced the demon in the classic horror film, The Exorcist. So they're just, super successful as a family. Let's see. So eventually John and his family, it was his wife and 2 daughters, were lured to Little Rock in 1979 by Stevens Incorporated, where he was the firm's economist and one-man futures trading department. So again, one man, that's a big deal in this story.
Yeah.
He handled the corporate account for the founders Jack and Whit Stevens, and he told Forbes, apparently when he was bragging at some point, I couldn't find the article, I didn't really look that hard, that he had no position limits that he knew of. So the man was powerful and had a lot of privilege and access to this money that wasn't his, it was the company's money. So
yeah,
John Markle was often called Dr. Doom due to his pessimistic view of the American economy. He was also known for being an oddball, often described as temperamental, rude, and lacking social skills. So the article I read, I believe it was Arkansas Online, used a different word for his lacking social skills, but I'm not repeating it. They said he was socially something, and I don't like that word. It's stupid. Anyhow, he also loved wearing purple shoes and insisted on wearing a leather Harley-Davidson cap while trading and making his assistant wear a particular hat as well. So he was pretty superstitious, when it came to his job. But what I thought was crazy, as far as for trouble at this amazing job that he was great in, he threatened to kill a coworker with an AK-47 and later loaded his personal arsenal of guns into his trunk to prove that he could make good on that threat. And I didn't...
What?
I know! I was like, wait, hold on. That's a big...
What was the threat over?
That's what I was trying to look up. No. But why weren't the police called? Like, that's super illegal.
How did he stay there after?
Yeah, and he brought his guns to work. Like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
So, regardless of his terrifying behavior, he was adored at this company because he earned at least $3 million in trading profits during the first 3 years of employment. He was vice president after only 8 months, which is the shortest ascension in Stevens' history, answering only to Jack Stevens, who admittedly knew very little about the type of futures that Markle was doing. Futures, again, I'm not going to pretend I'm an economist, but it's something super important, I assume, that businesses like these investment companies rely on to make moolah. So it talks about Jack Stevens, who had heard that Markle was mishandling accounts, but these rumors were often overlooked since people often talk shit about him. So, the owner heard like, oh yeah, he might be doing something sketchy, and he was just like, that's cool, everyone hates him. I don't care what people say. It's probably not true. And I found some other fun things about John. So he owned a white Lincoln, which is fancy schmancy, I guess, even back then. He had a bumper sticker that said, economize, eat money. So,
economize, eat money.
Eat money, it helps the economy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And he, even though he had this Lincoln, he sometimes rode a motorcycle to work. And he even drove a battered pickup that he and his kids had painted wild colors. So he wasn't like going around in his Lincoln thinking he was big, crazy stuff.
He was just having fun with whatever he could do.
And he often, this is like super taboo, he often wore white socks. Another small show of rebellion in a pinstriped world. So what do they say? He danced to the beat of his own drum. He didn't care what other people thought. He was successful. He was smart. He was happy. So the Markle family had purchased a renovated home on Main Street for $125,000. That's in Little Rock, which is about $412,000 now.
I was going to ask. I was like, back then, the inflation, the Exorcist would have sold like $1.2 billion in the economy now than what it did.
Yeah.
And
he got a home improvement loan. Yeah, he got a home improvement loan listing his annual salary as between $140,000 to $135,000 with $5,000 in dividends and interest income, which again is like $400,000, $500,000 a year now. So John, his wife Chris, and his 2 daughters settled in to their lovely little home on Main Street. And his mother, Mercedes McCambridge, actually ended up moving into the Quapaw Towers in 1981 to be closer to them. So, Grandma wanted to be around. Nice. And even though the family seemed financially secure and they had multiple close friends, all was not picture perfect for the Markles, which I hate, but is almost always the case. In August 1986, he was arrested in Little Rock and charged with soliciting a prostitute. The charges were dropped, but he did plead guilty to public intoxication. Apparently, he loved marijuana, and I'm not going to read that part. But an investigation after what happened in this story would show that John was routinely cashing 3 to 4 checks for $600 to $1,000 a week without any details into where the money was spent. So he was probably up to something, whether it was
drugs,
working with sex workers or doing drugs. Yeah. And this gem of a man was also a heavy smoker whose Wolf of Wall Street lifestyle led him to a sextuple bypass surgery when he was only 43 in his heart.
Holy
yeah.
cow.
So he was unhealthy, to say the least.
It's like all the Chambers, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Stevens Incorporated put Markle on medical leave October 7th of that year in 1987, but he was terminated November 13th, even though prior to the memorial service, the company's official statement was that he was still on medical leave because of his heart condition. Apparently, Mark had been fooling around with company funds, causing discrepancies in his handling of accounts belonging to Stevens Incorporated. So, let's look into this. Little Rock Police Chief Jess F. Doc Hale described Markle's risky 5-year operation and its accidental discovery and the release of an official police report. And side note, 5 months later, after being accused of petty theft, that same police chief ended up committing suicide for petty theft. So I'm like, what else were you up to? Because, he was a police chief, but petty theft seems like nothing. Don't steal, but also what was going on. Okay, so let's break down this embezzlement. Per Kennedy of Arkansas Business, Markle would order trades through a Chicago brokerage, Gelderman's. It could be Gelderman's. Don't come at me. Gelderman's Incorporated, without specifying whether the trades should be entered on the Stevens House account, the Stevens Incorporated house account, or an account he had opened for his mother in 1982. At the end of each trading day, Markle would assign profitable trades to his mother's account and losing trades to the Stevens account. This was super illegal per the Chicago Board of Trade rules and Stevens' internal policy, but some Gelderman's Incorporated employees were willing to bend the rules for a quote-unquote good customer. So John was more than likely doing this prior to his 1979 move to Stevens Incorporated, since he had a pretty helpful friend who had gone to work at Gelderman's. So the Stevens account, that's who he works for, the Stevens Incorporated account, lost $5.2 million when Markle was in control. More than $1.3 million during the first 10 months of 1987 alone. Which I'm like, well, you were doing pretty good, and then he went downhill. So his performance for the company was the worst among Stevens traders in 1987, but 91.7% of trades in his mother's account were profitable. Yeah. A record that was literally too good to be true. The only losses in the McCambridge account were trades in precious metals, a commodity in which Stevens didn't deal, so those losses couldn't be assigned to the Stevens account. Got it. There was no evidence that McCambridge, his mother, knew of this scheme. She believed the $604,000 she gave her son to manage in 1982 was invested in safe treasury bills and money markets, not in commodity futures, which lose more often than they win. Instead, her signature was forged on the application for power of attorney that Markle used to set up and manage the account.
Oh, gosh.
Over time, another $500,000 would be deposited in McCambridge's account for a total investment of about $1.1 million. Meanwhile, $1.18 million would be dispersed from the account, some to McCambridge, some to Markle, and some that could not be accounted for because of incomplete documentation when they looked up everything.
I'm sorry. When you say into the account, sometimes into Markle, sometimes into McCambridge, Do you mean the Stevens
like their
account?
personal accounts.
Okay.
No, like the profits, that 1.18 million were profits that he would disperse, some to his mom, some to himself, and then some somewhere else, just to like take home and spend.
Okay.
Okay. So when one of Markle's contacts at Gelderman's moved to another Chicago firm, Elders Futures Incorporated, I've never heard of any of these.
Yeah.
And he moved money between Stevens and McCambridge accounts from Gelderman to Elders in September 1987. His embezzling was finally exposed. So Gelderman's was always careful to mail all statements about McCambridge's, that's his mom's account, to Markle's home. But Elders sent their statements on the new McCambridge account that was, created when his friend moved to Stevens Incorporated, where he works, catching the attention of catching the attention of Bruce Bennett. Okay. So Bennett questioned Elders about the previously unknown accounts, and October 6th, a Gelderman's financial officer revealed the existence of a McCambridge account at his firm as well. So once they caught it, I know, I'm sorry. So pretty much what happened was he was fooling around with these two companies, and when his friend moved to the new company, that the old company Gelderman's knew, like, send McCambridge's, like his mom's account info to his house and send Stevens Incorporated info to Stevens. But this new company, Elders, didn't know this scheme set up. So they sent all of the accounts information for his mom and Stevens to Stevens. And Bruce Bennett was like, what is this McCambridge account? Like, I've never even heard of this before. And when he called them, and the old company was like, yeah, we have an account for her. Then I guess Gelderman caught on and was like, oh, we're going to be busted too. And they were like, yeah, we have one for her too. And these were previously unknown to Stevens, which is how he got busted.
I see now. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So let's see. After a compliance officer began an investigation, he and other Stevens Incorporated reps confronted Markle, John, who initially denied any wrongdoing before later admitting that he diverted profits to his mom's account. Mm-hmm. He was put on medical leave due to his history of heart disease. That's what I mentioned earlier, like October 17th. I'm not really sure what date I said earlier. But a few days later, it was stripped of his keys to Stevens' offices and access to the company computers. His access to company computers was completely shut down. So they were like,
yeah, you gotta
getting him out of
here.
Stuff to stop messing. Yes. So when this happened, Markle came up with at least 2 different ideas for making restitution to his employer in order to avoid criminal prosecution, both requiring his mom's cooperation, and that ended up being the issue. So when the embezzlement was discovered, his mother had approximately $1.2 million between the 2 accounts at Gelderman's and Elders. Mm-hmm. So Markle originally offered to leave all her money on account with Stevens Incorporated, and McCambridge could draw interest from the account during her lifetime, which is going to be way up there because it was $1 million or something.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
She was making plenty of interest to live off of, and the balance would revert to Stevens when she died. So she could live off this interest totally fine, but when she died, Stevens would take that money back. Like all of it, whatever was left over.
Okay.
And the Stevens family, they seemed okay with it. And his mom, Mercedes, had a pretty good relationship with them as well, even calling like one of the owners Mr. Witt. She didn't love the solution that John came up with. So McCambridge also apparently rejected Markle's second idea for reimbursing his employer, which was $600,000 in cash and the remainder of her estate at the time of her death. So instead, she was like, nope, not doing that either, which I don't understand because none of these hurt her.
Yeah.
While she was alive. She had plenty of effing money. But instead of, agreeing to either one of these options, on October 21st, McCambridge pulled up, bitch better have my money move, and sent a telegram to the 3 Stevenses, the owners, in which she denied any wrongdoing and even suggested that the company actually owed her money, and she sued them.
Holy crap.
His mother.
Oh, man.
So,
that does. I see what you mean.
After a more accurate discovery of the company's financial loss, Warren Stevens demanded $1 million in restitution during a final meeting with Markle on November 13th. He was like, just give me $1 million and that's it. And you won't go to prison. So Markle seemed to believe this is a good idea. And he requested 30 more days to come up with the money. But days before that last discussion, Markle had contacted his life insurance company and confirmed that his $500,000 policy would be paid in case of suicide.
Oh.
Crazy red flag. I didn't even know that companies did that.
Yeah.
His diary, he had a huge diary we'll talk about, suggested that he, while he was making preparations for what he called option ? He hadn't firmly decided to do what he ended up doing until he heard Stephen's final offer. So, on November 9th, Markle voided the will he had executed a few months after his heart surgery in 1985. So, this is in 1987. And he and 2 witnesses and a notary signed the handwritten will that was found in his briefcase. Unlike the first will, the new one made no provision for Chris, that's his wife, and named no guardians for Amy and Suzanne, his daughters. In the new will, he estimated the net value of his estate at $890,000. So he left $500,000 to his mother, which would bring her cash assets to approximately $1.7 million. And he wrote letters to them and to his attorney, Richard Lawrence, encouraging McCambridge, his mom, to immediately pay Stevens $700,000, leaving her with $1 million to leave, to invest for income should he die.
Yeah.
So, November 15th, 1987. So I'm 6 months old. At 9 o'clock p.m., I was probably not breastfeeding. Sorry, Mom, she didn't do it. I was drinking or sleeping or annoying my mom.
Drinking?
And, formula,
okay. I was
not
what are you talking
booze.
About?
I don't know. Maybe my mom spiked my bottles. She didn't do that. Everyone, don't call the cops. Anyhow, so in the Markle house, Amy had just called her friend at 9 p.m., her friend Woody. She called them excited because her dad had offered to take them skateboarding at the Metro Center Mall the next weekend, which is super cool, Who doesn't love that quality time? However, in the wee hours of November 16th, 1987, a fierce thunderstorm blew into Little Rock, casting a sinister pale pall over the Markle home. It looked scary as shit. It was sketchy as hell. It probably looked like the Exorcist house that we all know. Anyhow, so let's set the scene. Several hours after Amy had made that phone call, she was 13. She was laying dead in her canopy double bed, shot 4 times in the head and chest.
That's unnecessary.
Her 9-year-old sister, Suzanne, had been shot 5 times, lay next to her under the covers.
How?
And they think that they were both in the same room because of the crazy storm, that they were scared. So the 9-year-old was with her big sister.
Yeah.
And then upstairs in the cluttered 3rd floor master bedroom, the girl's mother, Chris, she was 45, was sprawled across the king-size waterbed, shot 3 times. So,
Jesus.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to do this. There were 3 guns that lay on John Markle's desk beside a Halloween mask that he had bought for this occasion. And I have a picture of the mask. It's fucking scary looking.
We'll upload it.
The mask had the face of a scowling old man with bushy eyebrows and a hook nose, and it covered his entire head. So it was a legit Halloween mask. Mm-hmm. So apparently that night, John had smoked some marijuana and taken the antidepressant Elavil and the anti-anxiety drug Valium, as had Christine, who had gone to bed earlier. John also drank a little Cutty Shark Scotch whiskey to bolster his resolve. He put on the mask, picked up 2 of the guns, and proceeded upstairs. His daughters had separate rooms on the 2nd floor, but again, like I mentioned before, Suzanne had crawled into bed with Amy, probably because of the storm. The girls actually had Elavil in their system too. That's the antidepressant. And they think that he drugged them, but if they happen to awaken, John wearing the mask would prevent them from knowing it was their father who killed them.
Yeah. That's a nice touch,
and
Dad.
So, I know. Thanks for thinking of that, Dad.
Yeah.
Terrible. So he went back downstairs to his office. He called his lawyer, Richard Lawrence, and told him to come over immediately. So I guess Lawrence tried calling him back. And by the time Lawrence and police arrived at 4 a.m., they came up to this grisly scene at 4 a.m. So Markle was also dead. He had held a revolver to each temple and pulled both triggers at the same time.
Oh,
and nearby was the blood-spattered mask, and the 3rd gun was found in an upstairs bedroom. Yeah. So apparently after
he wanted 100%
killed his-
certainty.
I know. He had killed his wife and daughters. He went to his first floor study, and his computer was on. This computer screen was on, and the wind whistled. And he had a 38 caliber and a 45 caliber gun to each temple, which I think is like okay. So the family annihilation and suicide was described as an act of macabre benevolence, per the Pulaski County coroner. You know, he wanted to spare the girls and his wife the publicity of like knowing their dad was an embezzling scumbag. Near the front door, Marco had left a briefcase containing papers and a note indicating they were for his lawyer. And on the desk in his study, near his hearing aid and a pint of that Cutty Shark, the autopsy showed he had drunk very little. But anyhow, he had left a 2-line handwritten note saying he had killed his wife and children, like a confession. He had written 230 at the top, and it was addressed to no one. So he left the confession and the other papers, including a handwritten will that bequeathed his estate and life insurance policies to Stevens Incorporated. And then I read different sources that said this note was 10 pages. Others said it was 13 pages. But he left a note full of vitriol to his mother. And he said she was incurably angry and manipulative and told her if she had made restitution to Stevens, he could have resigned and gotten another job. And he wrote, like, initially you said, well, we can work it out. But no, you refused. You called me a liar, a cheat, a criminal, a bum. You said I have ruined your life. You were never around too much when I needed you. So now I and my whole family are dead. So you can have the money.
Aww.
Good night, Mom. That was like part of the note. And it's just it's so terrible.
I mean, yeah, because that's your mother. How do you even come to that sense?
Like
and to write something so dark.
He totally resented her. I know. And he resented her. I mean, 10 pages or 13 pages of like, I hate you stuff. Oh, yeah. What was really sad is that many who knew Markle said that he was so intent on providing his children with like happy childhoods because his was so unhappy.
Oh, gosh.
You know, his mom was a working mom. He felt like he was the baby, like save her first bad marriage, and that didn't work out. And then he got another dad, and that didn't work out. And his mom was just busy all the time. Like, he was pretty much raised by his nanny, stuff like that. And he was just like, he felt really unseen by his mom. And apparently he resented her, you know, until the last moments of his life.
Literally.
So when the police arrived at his house that Monday, because of Markle's attorney, they found that letter from Markle to McCambridge. And someone had said, it was so bitter. It said that everything he'd ever done to impress her, she hadn't been impressed by, including his wonderful family and including how well he handled her account. And this, I had to include this because I was just like, damn. The letter's last page included this. Is this clear to you? That you have hurt every member of my family. That you have hurt me. That I stood by you under some really adverse conditions and that you have never done anything but manipulate me for your purposes. And I know. And so McCambridge's mom apparently died alone in 2004, which good riddance. She was awful. Like, I don't blame her. It wasn't her job,
obviously,
to save her son.
There's no telling what happened, but geez.
But also she might have known.
Everything that you said was true. And she wasn't going to take any kind of hit in any way. You were going to be gone, lady. And when anything was taken away from you,
it wouldn't have cost her anything. Gone. And she was like, no. And she wouldn't even have had all that money had it not been for him and his, like, I know. Like, I think her lesson is, like, don't trust anyone, including your mother, because they'll fuck you over. So that's the story of Mercedes' son, John Markle. I'm too sensitive. I had never heard this before. No, it's okay. I told you I'd make you cry. What's up?
Embrace everything.
No, I'm so glad. It's a really messed up story.
Compared to that, I feel like what are ghosts when we have real demons among us?
Real fucking monsters. Like, his mom played the devil's voice, but she was like the devil. Sorry, that's why I was like, fuck that lady. I don't like her. How dare she? And again, it wasn't her job or responsibility to save her son, but she could have saved the entire family. Like, how would she know that he would have gone off the rails that way?
That was definitely not a solution.
You know, again, it's not her fault.
We can go back and forth. There's so many things to say on this. That's not a solution, sir. Deal with it. Go to jail.
Yes, everyone don't Don't kill your family. Or wait, don't
That's
embezzle
the first
money.
thing.
Let's
Don't
start
do
with that.
something
Don't
illegal.
steal money.
First.
Unless you won't get
fine.
caught. Just kidding. Don't do
Well,
it.
Val, we need something
I know.
happy.
We're not telling you to do
We
illegal
need
stuff.
happy news after that.
Okay, well, I've got one little happiness thing. I'm a mama. I've got 4 kids, guys. That's
Busy.
happy and terrifying in itself. However, my youngest little man is now swimming at grandma's house completely without floaties.
He is so brave.
He is just swimming across the pool all the time. Oh my gosh, dude. He's like a little dolphin fish. They like do backflips and front flips all by themselves all day long. And it just makes my heart so happy because this was the same kid who wouldn't even go underwater earlier this summer.
I remember.
He had like, the issues with the earaches. So we'd never like fully drench him underwater without covering his ears or anything. So this is big news that he once started going underwater, but now he's totally swimming unassisted without floaties or anything. That makes me really happy.
Yay.
So that's my
I'm
good
so
news.
happy
How
for
about
you.
you? Hold on. This is
How
our
about
first
you guys?
episode.
You need to let us
Oh, we
know
got
what
it,
good
bro.
things are going on in your life at terrorisamood@gmail.com. You can label it good news.
Yeah, send your good news.
Positive news.
We also want to hear if you have any true crime or like paranormal stories. We will have a listeners episode eventually where we share these things, and we need them from you guys. So start sending them in. I want to be overcome with stories from you guys because this wouldn't be possible without you. So we're super duper excited. I'm proud of us. We did it, Mel.
Everyone. I hope we don't sound too much alike. I'm excited to hear it.
But if we do, we're going to have video because I don't know if you guys did this, but I had like certain ideas of who was who and whose voice was whose voice. And I was totally wrong with this one super famous podcast. Shout out to Karen and Georgia. My favorite murder. I love them. For the longest time, I thought their voices were switched. So I always pictured Karen looking like Georgia and Georgia looking like Karen. And so when I first found out that I was dead wrong, I was like, oh shit,
Wow.
How do I change this?
Yeah, in your head.
So you need to, so know this now. I'm Val.
And I'm Melanie.
Yeah. And
we'll spook you later.
That's it. So, and remember, moody people live longer. We'll talk about that later. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Be sure to follow us everywhere you have social media accounts at Terror is a Mood Pod. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and Facebook. We have a Facebook page. Just look for Terror is a Mood Podcast.
And you can find us on Patreon if you feel like supporting us with just love.
Bonus episodes.
Rate and review us.
Yep.
Please, review. I don't even care what you say. I mean, you can say nice things, but 5-star reviews are going to get this going and keep it strong. So be sure to rate and review us.
Thank you.
On whatever you listen to us on. Bye. Wait, now we say it.
Spook you later.
Spook you. And remember, moody people live longer.
End recording.